Good morning, grade 7. We are now in quarter 4, week 8 to 9. Our lesson is about analyzing and interpreting statistical data and drawing conclusions from graphics, tabular, and statistical measures. After going through this module, you are expected to: Number 1, analyze and interpret statistical data. Number 2, use different statistical measures appropriately. And number 3, draw conclusions from graphic and tabular data and measures of central tendency and variability. Lesson 1, analyzing and interpreting statistical data. In times of pandemic, we usually hear some questions like which city should extend on implementing enhanced community quarantine, or which city can implement general community quarantine. These questions can be answered by analyzing and interpreting a statistical data. Analyzing and interpreting data is usually done after all statistical information have been collected, organized, and presented, and the measures of central tendency, the mean, median, and mode have been computed. Once the data have been gathered, you need to know what is typical and how the values spread out in order for you to better understand the situation for a better prediction and decision. However, which statistical measure should be used appropriately to analyze and interpret the given data? Measures of central tendency tells you about the typical scores of the given data, and measures of variability tells you about how scores are dispersed. The mentioned statistical measures are very important for us to better analyze and interpret a certain statistical data. The mean is the most used measure of central tendency and used to describe the average of the data set. For example, the editorial staff in a legal department of a publishing company consists of 7 members whose wages in pesos are given in the table. Showing the 3 measures of central tendency, the mean, median, and mode. Letter A question: what information can we get from the given values? Answer: each editorial staff has its own unique salary, but the difference is just quite small. Question B: which of the 3 measures of central tendency is best used to describe the average wages in the legal department? The mean is the best measure to describe the average in the legal department because there is no presence of outlier, there is no mode, and the values are just about the same. The median is the central value in a data set arranged in ascending or descending order. It is used to describe the middle of the data set that does have an outlier or extreme values. For example, the following sets of data show the daily income in peso of 10 selected households living in 2 different barangays in Caloocan, namely Barangay 176 and Barangay 174. Showing the 3 measures of central tendency, we have the mean, median, and mode. From the data given, what information can we get from these values? Using the mean value, it seems that Barangay 174's household income is far greater than that of Barangay 176. We can see here in the mean that Barangay 174 has 721 while Barangay 176 has 682.5. However, using the median, it seems that the two are almost the same. We can see here in the median values, in Barangay 174, they have 690, while in Barangay 176, they have 695. What statistical measure is more appropriate to interpret the given data? The median is the most appropriate statistical measure to use because of the presence of outlier or the extreme value, very low or very high value. We can see that here in Barangay 176 where the lowest is 50 pesos and the highest is 990 pesos. In the given example, an income of 50 pesos in one household of Barangay 176 is considered as an outlier. Mode is the most popular data in a data set and is used to describe certain situations that simply ask for the most common value, such as the most preferred subject among grade 7 students in a particular school. For example, the given data below shows the preferred color of grade 7 students for their grade level shirt. What information can you get from the given data above? Students have different preferred colors of shirts. Generally, most grade 7 students preferred blue color for their grade level shirt because blue here got the highest vote. What measure of central tendency best describes the given data? The mode is the appropriate measure to describe the given data because in this scenario, we consider the most frequently chosen color of the students. The range is the simplest measure of variability since it is just the difference between the largest and smallest value of a data set. It is adequate to use for small data sets but inadequate when dealing with large data sets. When the value of the range is smaller, then the data is more consistent. For example, the math teacher will be choosing a contestant for Quiz B competition. He decided to pick from the top 2 students and use their scores in the quizzes as the basis. We have here Jimin's scores from lowest to highest and Taeyong's scores from lowest to highest. We also have here the mean value and the range of Jimin and Taeyong's score. What information can we get from the given values? Both students have the same number of quizzes taken, but they have different scores. What statistical measure is more appropriate to interpret the given data? Since the mean of 2 sets of scores are different, Range is better to be used because it tells the consistency of the score values, especially there is an outlier in the data. Outlier here can be seen in Jimin's score because the difference between his lowest score and highest score are considered extremes. Standard deviation is the most widely used measure of variability. It is used to describe how closely the values of a dataset are clustered around the mean. The greater the variability or spread, the larger is the value of the measure of variation. For example, the given data below shows the result of two classes in a 100-item test in mathematics. We have section Shohoku and section Shoyo. The mean, range, and standard deviation is also given in the table. Question: what information can we get from the given data above? Both classes have the same mean and range, but different in variation. What statistical measure is more appropriate to interpret the given data? Since both classes have the same mean, which is 32, and range, which is 79, it does not describe the dataset appropriately because, as you can see, the datasets are quite different. Thus, the standard deviation is better to use in this case. Lesson 2. Drawing conclusions from graphics, tabular, and statistical measures. Drawing conclusion is the final phase after you have analyzed and interpreted the data. It is where you summarize the dataset and comes up with a decision. In order to properly draw a conclusion, you must look closely at the data presented, whether graphical, tabular, or computed statistical measures. Example number 1. The bar graph below shows the number of COVID cases per month in Philippines from September 2021 to April 2022. What month has the greatest number of COVID cases? We can see here in our table, the highest bar graph is in January 2022 with 716,223 COVID cases. How many COVID cases are there in the month of November 2021? We can see here in our table, this is November 2021. There are 45,458 COVID cases in the month of November 2021. What is the average number of COVID cases from the month of September 2021 to April 2022? September 2021 is here, while April 2022 is here. So, to solve for the average, we have first add the number of COVID cases per month from here to here, and then divide the result by 8. So the answer is 212,133.5. Example number 2. A survey was conducted to different grade levels in UA High School regarding their preferred distance learning modalities for the opening of classes. The result is shown below. We have grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, grade 10. And the last column is for the total. We have online learning, television, radio, modular learning, blended learning. How many students are there in all? We can see here in the total, there are 250 students for grade 7, for grade 8, for grade 9, and for grade 10. So, there are 1,000 students altogether. How many more grade 9 students preferred to have online learning than grade 10 students? So, the question here is we have to compare the grade 9 and grade 10 students who choose online learning. For grade 9, we have 170 students, and for grade 10, we have 135 students. So, the difference between grade 9 and grade 10 students who choose online learning is 35 students. How many grade 7 students preferred blended learning? Grade 7 students who preferred blended learning is here. So the answer is there are 60 grade 7 students who preferred blended learning. Example number 3. The table below shows the score of 5 grade 7 male students. Example number 3. The table below shows the scores of 5 grade 7 male students and 5 grade 7 female students in their long quiz in mathematics. We have here for male and for female. The mean and the range of their scores are computed here. What conclusion can you draw from the given data above? We can conclude that the grade 7 female students are more homogeneous than the male students in terms of their math ability, since the range of female students is much lower compared to the male students. If you notice, the scores of female students are relatively close than those of male students. Example number 4. The owner of one of the biggest car companies in the Philippines is planning to promote one of his top employees to a higher position. To help determine who has a better performance, he made a table and compared their sales profile over the last 6 months. We have here the number of sales of Sakuragi and Rukawa for the month of January to June and the total. Showing the 3 measures of central tendency, we have the mean, median, and mode for Sakuragi and Rukawa's car sales. who has more sales over the last 6 months. As we can see here, from the total, Sakuragi has 72 cars and Rukawa has 68 cars sold for the last 6 months. So the answer is Sakuragi has more sales compared to Rukawa since he has an average sale of 12 cars per month. We can see that here in the mean. Sakuragi's mean is 12 while Rukawa's mean is 11.3. Next question. Who is more consistent in terms of their performance? Rukawa seems to have better performance because he sold 10 to 12 cars more frequently. We can see that here in the mode where Rukawa can sell 10 to 12 cars per month. What conclusion can you draw from the given data above? We can conclude that Rukawa did better although his mean is less than that of Sakuragi. Sakuragi has a mean of 12 only because his very high output for the month of June. On the other hand, Rukawa consistently sold 10 to 12 cars. Example number 5. Two classes were given identical quizzes. We have here Class A and Class B. The mean score and standard deviation is given below. Which class scored better on average? Based on the given data, here, Class A scored better on average because Class A has higher mean, which is 8.6, while Class B has 8.4. Which class had more consistent scores? Class B had more consistent scores. We can see that here in their standard deviation. Since Class B has lower standard deviation, this means that their scores are more consistent. Example 6. The number of milk tea sold daily by milk tea shops, accountability, and loyalty is summarized below using different measures of central tendency and variation. The mean, median, and mode standard deviation for the two milk tea shops, accountability and loyalty, are given here in the table. Which milk tea shop sold the greatest number of milk tea per day? What is the basis of your answer? Milk tea shop accountability sold the most milk tea per day since it sells an average of 325 milk tea daily compared to milk tea shop loyalty that has an average of 268 only. We can see that here in the value of their mean. Means accountability sold 325 milk tea per day, while loyalty sold 268 milk tea per day. Which milk tea shop is consistent when it comes to the number of milk tea sold per day? What is the basis for your answer? Milk tea shop loyalty is consistent when it comes to the number of milk tea sold per day because the standard deviation is 14.19, which is lower compared to that of milk tea shop accountability. We can see that here. Loyalty has 14.19 standard deviation, which is lower than accountability, which has 33.54. Thank you for watching.